Jake Martinez woke up at 5:30 in the morning like he did every day. The sun was just starting to come up over his small farm in Kansas. He put on his old running shoes and grabbed a bottle of water from the kitchen. Running was the best part of his day. It helped him think and made him feel better about being alone. He walked outside and felt the cool morning air on his face. His farm was quiet except for the chickens making soft sounds in their pen. Jake had been living alone for 2 years now since his wife left him. She said she was tired of the farm life and wanted to move to the city. Jake could not leave his farm. It was all he had left of his father, who died when Jake was 20. Jake started jogging down the dirt road that led away from his house. He always took the same path through the prairie. It was peaceful out there, with just the tall grass moving in the wind and birds singing. The path went for about 3 miles before it connected to the main road. Most people did not know about this old trail. Jake liked it that way. He had been running for about 20 minutes when he saw something strange up ahead. At first he thought it might be a fallen tree branch or maybe some trash that blew in from the highway. But as he got closer, he could see it was much bigger than that. Jake slowed down and squinted his eyes to see better. What he saw made his heart beat faster. It was a person lying on the ground, a woman. She was not moving. Jake ran faster toward her, his mind racing with worry. Was she hurt? Was she dead? What was she doing out here in the middle of nowhere? When Jake reached the woman, he could see. She was breathing, but barely. Her clothes were dirty and torn. Her brown hair was messy and full of dust. Her lips looked dry and cracked like she had not had water in a long time. She looked like she was in her 30s, maybe younger. It was hard to tell because she looked so tired and sick. Then Jake heard a small crying sound. He looked around and saw a little boy sitting next to the woman. The child could not be more than 3 or 4 years old. He had the same brown hair as the woman and was wearing a dirty t-shirt and shorts. The boy was crying softly, but he did not have much energy left for loud crying. Jake knelt down next to them. He gently touched the woman's shoulder. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" he said. The woman's eyes opened a little bit. She looked at Jake but seemed confused, like she did not know where she was. "Help," she whispered. Her voice was so quiet Jake could barely hear her. "My son." Jake looked at the little boy who was staring at him with big, scared eyes. The child was clearly afraid of this stranger, but he was too weak to run away. Jake could tell both of them had not eaten or drunk water in a long time. "It's okay," Jake said in a gentle voice. "I'm going to help you both." He pulled out his cell phone to call for an ambulance. But when he looked at his phone, he saw there was no signal. This part of the prairie was too far from any cell towers. Jake knew the nearest hospital was in town, about 30 minutes away by car. Even if he could call for help, it would take the ambulance at least 40 minutes to get out here on these old dirt roads. The woman and child looked like they might not have 40 minutes to wait. He had to make a quick decision. His truck was parked at the start of the trail, about a half-mile back. He could carry the woman there and drive them to the hospital himself. Or he could leave them here and run back to get help. But leaving them alone felt wrong. What if something happened while he was gone? "Ma'am, I need to get you to a doctor," Jake said. "Or walk it all." The woman tried to sit up but fell back down. She was too weak to stand. The little boy crawled closer to his mother and put his small hand on her arm. He was trying to protect her even though he was just a child. Jake made his choice. He would carry them both to his truck. He was strong from working on the farm every way. The woman was thin and did not look like she weighed very much. The boy was small enough to walk if Jake encouraged him. "Little guy, what's your name?" Jake asked the boy. The child did not answer. He just stared at Jake with those big eyes full of fear. "It's okay," Jake said. "I'm going to help your mama. We're going to go to my truck, and then I'll take you somewhere safe." Jake carefully lifted the woman in his arms. She was lighter than he expected, which worried him. She should weigh more than this. He could feel her ribs through her thin shirt. When was the last time she had eaten a real meal? "Can you walk with me?" Jake asked the boy. "We need to help your mama." The little boy stood up on shaky legs. Was weak too, but he seemed determined to stay close to his mother. Jake started walking back toward his truck, carrying the woman and moving slowly so the child could keep up as they walked. The woman mumbled things that did not make much sense. She talked about someone leaving her behind and having no place to go. She mentioned being lost and not knowing which way to walk. Jake could only understand bits and pieces, but it sounded like someone had abandoned her and her son out here in the middle of nowhere. The walk back to his truck felt like it took forever. Jake's arms started to hurt from carrying the woman, but he did not stop. The little boy walked beside him, sometimes stumbling but never giving up. Every few minutes, Jake would look down at the woman to make sure she was still breathing. When they finally reached his old pickup truck, Jake gently placed the woman in the passenger seat. He helped the little boy climb into the middle of the bench seat. The child immediately reached for his mother's hand and held it tight. Jake started the engine and began driving toward town as fast as he dared on the bumpy dirt road. But then he had another thought. The hospital would ask a lot of questions. They would want to know who these people were and what had happened to them. The woman was in no condition to answer questions. The little boy was too young and scared to explain anything. Maybe he should take them to his house first. His neighbor Betty Coleman used to be a nurse before she retired. She lived just a quarter-mile from his farm. Betty would know what to do, and she would not ask difficult questions until later when the woman was feeling better. Jake turned his truck toward home instead of toward town. These two people needed help right now, and he was going to make sure they got it. He had no idea that this decision would change all of their lives forever. Jake drove his truck as fast as he could without bouncing the woman and child around too much. The old dirt road was full of holes and bumps. Every time the truck hit a big bump, Jake looked over at the woman to make sure she was still okay. The little boy held his mother's hand and watched Jake with worried eyes. When Jake reached his farm, he honked the horn 3 times. This was the signal he used to call his neighbor Betty Coleman when he needed help. Betty lived in the small house next to his farm. She was 70 years old, but still strong and smart. She had been a nurse for 40 years before she retired. Jake parked his truck close to his front door. He could see Betty walking quickly across the field between their houses. She was carrying her old medical bag that she kept for emergencies. Betty had helped Jake many times when his farm animals got sick or hurt. "What happened?" Betty asked as she reached the truck. She looked at the woman and child with her experienced nurse eyes. "I found them on the Prairie Trail," Jake said. "She's barely awake," and the boy looked scared and hungry. "I think they've been out there for days." Betty opened the passenger door and gently touched the woman's forehead. "She has a fever," Betty said. "Help me get her inside. We need to cool her down and get some water in her." Jake carefully lifted the woman out of the truck. She felt even lighter than before, like a bird with broken wings. The little boy climbed out after them and stayed close to his mother. He would not let go of her hand even when Jake was carrying her. They brought the woman into Jake's house and laid her on the couch in the living room. Betty immediately went to work checking her pulse and looking at her eyes. The woman's breathing was shallow, and her skin felt hot and dry. "She's very dehydrated," Betty said, "and she looks like she hasn't eaten in days. Give me some clean water and a clean cloth. We need to cool her down slowly." Jake ran to the kitchen and filled a bowl with cool water, grabbed some clean towels from the closet. When he came back, Betty was trying to talk to the little boy. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Betty asked in a gentle voice. The boy just stared at her and moved closer to his mother. He was still holding her hand like it was the only thing keeping him safe. "It's okay," Betty said. "We're going to help your mama feel better." Jake handed Betty the water and towels. She dipped a cloth in the cool water and gently wiped the woman's face and arms. The woman's eyes opened a little wider and she looked around the room like she was trying to figure out where she was. "Where am I?" the woman whispered. Her voice was rough and dry. "You're safe," Betty said. "This is Jake's house. He found you on the trail. Can you tell me your name?" The woman looked at Jake and then at Betty. She seemed confused and scared. "Linda," she said finally. "My name is Linda." "That's good, Linda," Betty said. "And what's your little boy's name?" Linda looked at her son and managed a small smile. "Danny," she said. "His name is Danny?" Danny heard his name and squeezed his mother's hand. He was still afraid, but he seemed to understand that these people were trying to help. "Linda, I need you to drink some water," Betty said. "Just small sips at first." Your body needs water. Very badly. Betty helped Linda sit up a little and held a glass of water to her lips. Linda drank slowly. After a few sips, she started to look a little better. Her eyes became clearer, and she could focus on the people around her. Danny needs water too, Linda said, looking at her son with worry. Jake knelt down next to Danny and offered him a small cup of water. Danny looked at his mother first. When Linda nodded, Danny took the cup with both hands and drank the water quickly like he had not had anything to drink in a very long time. Slow down, buddy, Jake said gently. There's plenty more water. Don't have to drink it all at once. Betty continued to check Linda's condition. She took her temperature and listened to her heart with an old stethoscope. Your fever is coming down, Betty told Linda, but you're still very weak. When was the last time you ate something? Linda thought for a moment. 2 days ago, I think. Maybe 3. I gave most of my food to Danny. Jake felt angry when he heard this. What kind of person would leave a mother and child with no food or water? He went to the kitchen and started making something simple for them to eat. He made some soup and toast, foods that would be easy for their stomachs to handle. While Jake was cooking, Betty talked quietly with Linda. She asked gentle questions about what had happened and how they ended up on the Prairie Trail. Linda's answers came slowly, like it was hard for her to remember, or like she was afraid to tell the truth. My boyfriend left us at a gas station, Linda said finally. He took the car and drove away. He said he was tired of taking care of us and that we were too much trouble. Betty's face got angry when she heard this, but she kept her voice calm and gentle. How long ago did this happen? 3 days, I think, Linda said. Maybe 4. The days all seem the same now. I tried to walk to my sister's house in Oakdale, but I got lost. I've never been good with directions. Oakdale is 60 miles from here, Betty said with surprise. You walked 60 miles? I tried to, Linda said, but I kept getting lost on the back roads. I thought if I stayed away from the main highway, we would be safer, but all the dirt roads looked the same to me. Jake came back from the kitchen carrying 2 bowls of warm soup and some pieces of toast. The smell of food made Danny's eyes get big with hunger. Jake gave Danny a small bowl and helped him hold the spoon. Easy now, Jake said. Eat slowly, or you might get sick. Danny ate the soup like he had never tasted anything so good. Linda ate more slowly, but Jake could see she was very hungry too. As they ate, some color came back to their faces. Danny even smiled a little when Jake gave him more toast. You can stay here tonight, Jake said. Both of you need to rest and get your strength back. Linda looked at Jake with surprise. We can't ask you to do that. You've already done so much for us. You're not asking, Jake said. It's not safe for you to travel when you're this weak, and Danny needs to sleep in a real bed. Betty nodded in agreement. Jake's right. Both need at least 1 night of good rest and food before you try to go anywhere. Linda's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, she whispered. Both of you. I don't know what we would have done if Jake hadn't found us. Jake felt something warm in his chest when he saw her tears. It had been a long time since he had felt needed. By anyone. For 2 years, he had been living alone with just his farm animals for company. Now his house felt different with Linda and Danny in it. It felt more like a home. The next morning, Jake woke up earlier than usual. He had given Linda and Danny his guest bedroom while he slept on the couch. All night long, he kept listening for sounds from the bedroom to make sure they were okay. He heard Danny crying once during the night, but Linda's soft voice quickly calmed him down. Jake made coffee and started cooking breakfast. He made scrambled eggs, toast, and bacon. The smell of food cooking filled the house. Soon he heard footsteps. Coming down the hall, Linda appeared in the kitchen doorway, carrying Danny in her arms. She looked much better than yesterday. Her face had more color, and her eyes were clearer. Good morning, Jake said with a smile. How did you sleep? Better than I have in months, Linda said. Danny slept through most of the night. That's unusual for him. He's been having bad dreams for weeks. Jake noticed that Danny looked more relaxed too. The scared look in his eyes was not as strong as yesterday. The little boy was looking around the kitchen with curiosity instead of fear. I made breakfast, Jake said. I hope you're both hungry. Linda sat down at the kitchen table. With Danny on her lap, Jake served them plates of food and poured Linda a cup of coffee. Danny ate his eggs with his fingers, and Linda did not stop him. She seemed happy just to watch her son eat real food. "Jake," Linda said after a few minutes of quiet eating, "I need to tell you the truth about what happened to us. Deserve to know after everything you've done?" Jake sat down across from her. "Only if you want to tell me. You don't owe me any explanations." Linda took a deep breath and looked down at her coffee cup. "Danny's father is named Roy Patterson. I lived with him for 3 years. At first he seemed like a good man. He had a job and was nice to me. But after Danny was born, everything changed." She paused and took a sip of coffee. "Danny was playing with his toast, making little pieces that he ate one by one. Roy started getting angry about everything," Linda continued. "He said I spent too much money on baby things. He said Danny cried too much and kept him awake. He started hitting me when he got frustrated." Jake felt his hands tighten into fists under the table. He had never hit a woman in his life and could not understand men who did. "I tried to leave him many times," Linda said, "but Roy always found me and brought me back. Said if I ever left him for good, he would make sure I never saw Danny again. He knew people who could help him take Danny away from me." "Why didn't you call the police?" Jake asked gently. Linda laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "I did call them twice. Roy was always very careful about where he hit me, so the bruises didn't show. He was also very good at acting nice and normal when other people were around. The police believed him when he said I was lying." Jake shook his head. He had heard stories like this before, but it still made him angry that the system failed to protect women like Linda. "Last month, Roy lost his job," Linda said. "He started drinking more and getting angrier. He hit me in front of Danny for the first time. That's when I knew I had to get out no matter what happened. Danny had finished eating and was getting restless. Jake found some paper and crayons for him to draw with. The little boy seemed happy to have something to do with his hands. I saved money for weeks," Linda said, watching Danny draw circles on the paper. "I hid it in Danny's diaper bag, where Roy would never look. I planned to take a bus to my sister, Mary's house in Oakdale. She said she would help us start over." "What went wrong?" Jake asked. "Roy found the money," Linda said. "He was looking for something in Danny's room and found the cash hidden in the diaper bag. He was so angry, he threw things around the house and broke dishes. Then he grabbed me and Danny and put us in his car." Linda's voice got quieter as she told the rest of the story. "He drove us to a gas station about an hour away from town. He told me to get out with Danny and all our stuff. Then he drove away and left us there. He just left you at a gas station." Jake could not believe anyone could be so cruel. "The gas station was closed," Linda said. "It was late at night and there was nobody around. I had no money and no phone. I didn't even know where we were. I started walking because I didn't know what else to do." Wait. Jake reached across the table and gently touched Linda's hand. "You're safe now," he said, "both of you." "I got lost so many times," Linda said. "I thought I was walking toward Oakdale, but I kept ending up on roads that went nowhere. We slept outside for 2 nights. I gave Danny most of our water and the little bit of food I had in my purse." "You're a good mother," Jake said. "You kept your son safe." Linda's eyes filled with tears. "I thought we were going to die out there. When I saw you running toward us yesterday, I thought maybe I was dreaming. I couldn't believe someone actually found us." Jake looked at Danny, who was still drawing quietly. The little boy had been through so much, but he seemed to be getting stronger already. Children were amazing that way. They could bounce back from terrible things if they felt safe and loved. "We need to call your sister," Jake said. "She must be worried about you." "I don't know her phone number by heart," Linda said. "Roy never. Let me keep phone numbers written down. He said if I didn't remember them, then I didn't need to call those people." Jake went to his computer and looked up phone numbers for people named Foster in Oakdale. There were only 3 listings. He wrote them down on a piece of paper. "Try these numbers," Jake said. "One of them might be your sister." Linda used Jake's kitchen phone to call the first number. It was not the right person. The second number was also wrong. But when she called the third number, Jake could see her face light up. "Mary, it's Linda," she said into the phone. Jake could hear a woman's voice on the other end, getting very excited and loud. "Linda, started crying as she talked to her sister. She told Mary about Roy leaving them at the gas station and about getting lost for days. She told her about Jake, finding them and taking care of them. When Linda finished the phone call, she was crying harder. But Jake could tell these were happy tears, not sad ones. "Mary has been looking for us," Linda said. "She called the police when I didn't show up. She even drove around looking for us, but she didn't know where to search. She wants to come get us right away." Jake felt something strange in his chest when Linda said her sister was coming to get them. It was almost like disappointment. He had only known Linda and Danny for one day, but already his house felt more alive with them in it. The thought of them leaving made him feel lonely again. "That's good," Jake said, trying to sound happy for them. "You'll be with family." But even as he said it, Jake wondered why the idea of them leaving bothered him so much. He barely knew these people, so why did it feel like they belonged here with him? Jake was getting ready to drive Linda and Danny to Oakdale to meet Mary when the phone rang. It was Mary calling back with bad news. "The bridge on Highway 12 is washed out," Mary told Linda. "There was the big storm last night and the creek flooded. The police have the road blocked off. Nobody can get through until they fix the bridge." Linda looked worried when she hung up the phone. "Mary can't come get us," she told Jake. "And we can't drive to her house either. The main road is flooded." Jake tried to hide his relief. He was not ready for Linda and Danny to leave yet, even though he knew they needed to be with family. "How long will it take to fix the bridge?" he asked. "Mary thinks maybe a week," Linda said. "Maybe longer if more storms come. The creek floods every spring, but this year is worse than usual." "Then you'll stay here until the road opens," Jake said. "I have plenty of room, and it's not safe for you to try the back roads alone." Linda looked uncertain. "We can't keep bothering you, Jake. You've already done so much for us." "You're not bothering me," Jake said, and he meant it. "I like having you both here. The house has been too quiet for too long." Danny had been playing with some toy cars that Jake found in his closet. They were old toys from when Jake was a child, but Danny loved them. He was making car sounds and driving them around on the kitchen floor. "Look, Mama," Danny said, holding up a little red truck. "It's like Jake's truck." Linda smiled at her son. It was the first time Jake had heard Danny speak more than one or two words. The little boy was starting to feel comfortable in Jake's house. Over the next few days, Jake watched Linda and Danny become part of his daily routine. Linda insisted on helping with cooking and cleaning, even though Jake told her she was his guest. She made breakfast while Jake did his morning farm work. She folded his laundry and organized his kitchen cabinets. "You don't have to do all this work," Jake told her one evening after dinner. "I want to help," Linda said. "You've given us a safe place to stay. It's the least I can do." But Jake could see it was more than that. Linda needed to feel useful. After months of being controlled by Roy, she wanted to make her own choices about how to spend her time. Jay understood this and stopped trying to make her rest. Danny was changing too. Every morning he followed Jake outside to feed the chickens and horses. At first, Danny was afraid of the animals, but Jake showed him how to be gentle and careful. Soon Danny was helping throw corn to the chickens and brush the horses' coats. "He's never been around farm animals before," Linda told Jake as they watched Danny pet a gentle old horse named Buttercup. "Roy lived in the city and never wanted to go anywhere that had animals." "Danny's a natural," Jake said. "Look how Buttercup likes him. She's usually shy around new people." Danny giggled as Buttercup nuzzled his hair with her soft nose. The boy had no fear now. He reached up and hugged the horse's big head, like she was a giant dog, in the evenings. After Danny went to bed, Jake and Linda would sit on the front porch and talk. Linda told Jake about her dreams of becoming a teacher. She had been in college studying education when she met Roy. He convinced her to drop out and move in with him instead. "I was so stupid," Linda said one night as they watched the stars come out. "I gave up everything for a man who didn't really love me." "You weren't stupid," Jake said. "You were young, and you trusted someone. That's not stupid. That's human." "Do you think it's too late for me to go back to school?" Linda asked. "I'm 32 years old. Most people my age are already finished." "With college, it's never too late," Jake said. "My neighbor Betty didn't become a nurse until she was 35. She had 3 kids and worked 2 jobs, but she still found a way to get her nursing degree." Linda smiled. "You really think I could do it?" I think you can do anything you set your mind to, Jake said. You survived 3 years with Roy. You protected Danny and got both of you away from danger. You walked 4 days across the prairie. To keep your sons safe, if you can do all that, you can definitely go back to school. Jake meant every word. In just a few days, he had seen how strong and smart Linda was. She helped Danny with simple math games using his toy cars. She read too. Him every night from old books Jake found in his closet. She was already a teacher in her heart. As the days passed, Jake found himself looking forward to coming inside after his farm work. The house felt warm and alive with Linda and Danny there. Linda always had dinner ready, and Danny would run too. Hug Jake's legs when he walked through the door. Jake, Jake. Danny would shout, "Come see what I drew today." Danny's drawings covered the refrigerator now. Most of them showed stick figures of a man, a woman, and a little boy standing next to a house with animals around them. Sometimes there were hearts drawn above the figures' heads. One evening, Linda was washing dishes while Jake dried them. Danny was playing quietly in the living room with his cars. It felt like the most natural thing in the world, this simple routine of cleaning up after dinner together. "Jake," Linda said quietly, "can I ask you something personal?" "Sure," Jake said. "Were you married before? You seem like you know how to take care of a family." Jake dried the same plate twice before he answered. "I was married for 5 years. My wife Sarah left me 2 years ago. She said farm life was too boring and lonely for her. She wanted to live in the city and have more excitement." "I'm sorry," Linda said. "That must have been hard." "It was at first," Jake said. "But now I think maybe we just wanted different things." Sarah needed more people and activity around her. "I need quiet and space to think." "What do you need now?" Linda asked, looking at him with serious eyes. Jake looked through the kitchen doorway at Danny playing with his cars on the living room floor. He looked at Linda standing next to him at the sink, her sleeves rolled up and her hair pulled back. He thought about how the house felt when they were in it, compared to how it felt when he was alone. "I think I need this," Jake said quietly. "I need people who want to be here with me. People who think the farm is a good place to build a life, not a place to escape from." Linda stopped washing dishes and turned to look at Jake. "Is that what you think we want? To build a life here?" Jake realized what he had said and felt his face get warm with embarrassment. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to assume anything. I know you have your own plans with your sister." Linda dried her hands on a dish towel and stepped closer to Jake. "What? If I told you I've been thinking the same thing? What if I told you that Danny and I have been happier here in 1 week than we were in 3 years with Roy?" Jake looked into Linda's eyes and saw something there that made his heart beat faster. It was the same feeling he had been trying to ignore for days. The feeling that maybe finding Linda and Danny on that prairie trail was not just about helping. Maybe it was about all of them finding something they needed. "Then I would say the road can stay flooded as long as it wants to," Jake said with a smile. Linda laughed and touched Jake's arm. "Maybe we should call Mary and tell her not to worry about fixing that bridge too quickly." 2 weeks after the bridge washed out, the county finally fixed the road. Jake heard the news on his radio while he was feeding the horses. His heart sank when the announcer said Highway 12 was open again. I had been hoping the repairs would take longer. When Jake came inside for breakfast, Linda was already dressed and packing their few belongings into a small bag. Danny was sitting on the couch looking sad. Even the little boy seemed to understand that something was changing. "The road is fixed," Linda said without looking at Jake. "Mary called this morning. She's coming to pick us up this afternoon." Jake poured himself a cup of coffee and sat down at the kitchen table. "That's good," he said, but his voice did not sound happy. "You'll finally get to be with your family." "Yes," Linda said, but she did not sound happy either. They ate breakfast. In silence, Danny played with his food instead of eating it. He kept looking back and forth between Jake and his mother like he was trying to understand why everyone seemed upset. After breakfast, Linda took Danny outside to say goodbye to the animals. Jake watched from the kitchen window as Danny hugged Buttercup's neck and gave the chickens one last handful of corn. The little boy was crying, and Linda was kneeling down trying to comfort him. Jake could not stand to watch anymore. He went to his bedroom and sat on the bed with his head in his hands. For 2 weeks, he had been pretending that Linda and Danny might stay forever, but he knew that was just a dream. Linda needed to be with her sister. Anita needed stability. And a real family, not just a lonely farmer who found them by accident. At noon, Jake heard a car coming up his driveway. Through the window, he could see a blue sedan parking next to his truck. A woman with brown hair like Linda's got out of the car and ran toward the house. Linda. Danny. The woman called out. Linda came running from the backyard with Danny in her arms. The two sisters hugged each other and cried while Danny squeezed between them. Jake watched from his front door, but did not go outside. This was their family moment, and he did not belong in it. After a few minutes, Linda brought her sister Mary to meet Jake. Mary was a little older than Linda and had the same kind eyes. She shook Jake's hand firmly. "I can never thank you enough for what you did," Mary said. "Linda told me everything. You saved their lives." "Anyone would have done the same thing," Jake said. "No," Mary said firmly. "Not everyone would have taken strangers into their home and cared for them like family. You're a good man, Jake Martinez." Helped carry Linda and Danny's bag to Mary's car. It was a small bag because they had not owned much when he found them. Everything they had in the world fit into one little suitcase. Danny did not want to get in the car, wrapped his arms around Jake's leg and held on tight. "I don't want to go," Danny said, his voice muffled against Jake's jeans. "I want to stay with Jake and the horses." Linda knelt down next to her son. "Danny, we have to go live with Aunt Mary now. She has a nice house, and you'll have your own bedroom." "But I like my bedroom here," Danny said. "And who will help Jake?" "Feed the chickens?" Jake felt his throat get tight, picked Danny up and hugged him. "The chickens will be okay, buddy. And you'll love living with your Aunt Mary. She'll take good care of you and your mama." "Will I see you again?" Danny asked with tears in his eyes. Jake looked at Linda, not sure what to say. "Not." Linda looked away and did not meet his eyes. "We'll see," Jake said finally. "You be good for your mama and your aunt, okay?"
"Not."
Danny nodded and gave Jake one more big hug before Linda put him in the car. Mary started the engine while Linda stood next to Jake on his front porch. "Thank you for everything," Linda said quietly. "These have been the best 2 weeks of my life in a very long time." "Mine too," Jake said. Linda looked like she wanted to say something else, but she just nodded and walked to the car. Jake stood on his porch and watched the blue sedan drive away until he could not see it anymore. The house felt empty and cold. As soon as they left, Jake tried to keep busy with farm work. But everything reminded him of Linda and Danny. The kitchen smelled like the cookies Linda had baked yesterday. Danny's drawings were still on the refrigerator. The guest bedroom still had the blankets folded the way Linda liked to fold them. 3 days passed. Jake barely ate and did not sleep well. Kept expecting to hear Danny's voice calling his name when he came inside from the barn. He kept looking for Linda's smile when he walked into the kitchen, but the house stayed quiet and empty. On the 4th day, Jake's phone rang while he was fixing a fence post. It was Linda. "Jake." Linda's voice sounded nervous. "Is this a bad time to call?" "No," Jake said quickly. "It's good to hear your voice. How are you and Danny doing?" "We're okay," Linda said. "Mary has been wonderful to us. She's helping me look into going back to school. And Danny likes his new bedroom. But Jake, I need to tell you something." Jake sat down on an old tree stump and held the phone closer to his ear. "What is it? I miss you," Linda said quietly. "Danny misses you too. He cries every night and asks when we can go back to see Jake and the horses. And I don't know what to tell him because I've been asking myself the same question." Jake felt something warm spread through his chest. "You? Miss me? I miss everything about being there with you," Linda said. "I miss cooking breakfast while you do the farm work. I miss watching you teach Danny about the animals. I miss sitting on the porch and talking with you after Danny goes to sleep. I miss feeling like I belong somewhere." You do belong somewhere." Jake said, "You belong here. Both of you." "Do you really mean that?" Linda asked. "I've been miserable for 3 days," Jake said. "This house doesn't feel like home anymore without you and Danny in it. If you want to come back, I want you here." "Hey, what about Mary?" She think I'm crazy for leaving her house to go live with a man I barely know? Do you barely know me? Asked because I feel like I've known you my whole life. Linda was quiet for a moment. No, she said finally. I feel like I've known you forever too. Like I was meant to find you on that trail. Maybe you were, Jake said. Maybe we were all meant to find each other. I need to talk to Mary, Linda said. But Jake, if she's okay with it, would you want Danny and me to come home? Home. Jake liked the sound of that word when Linda said it. I'll be waiting for you, Jake said. That evening, Linda called again. Mary had been surprised but supportive. She could see that Linda was happier talking about Jake and the farm than she had been since arriving in Oakdale. Mary said she thinks I'm falling in love, Linda said with a laugh. And she's right. Good, Jake said. Because I fell in love with both of you the minute I carried you home from that trail. 2 days later, Jake was feeding the horses when he heard a car in his driveway. He looked up to see Mary's blue sedan parking next to his truck. Linda and Danny got out, and Danny came running toward him as fast as his little legs could carry him. Jake! Jake! Danny shouted. We came home. Jake caught Danny in his arms and spun him around. Linda walked up to them both, smiling the biggest smile Jake had ever seen. Welcome home, Jake said, and he meant it with all his heart. 1 year later, Jake and Linda were married in his farmhouse backyard with Danny as their ring bearer. Jake adopted Danny officially, giving him the father and family name he had never had. Linda started taking college classes online to finish her teaching degree. Sometimes Jake still went for morning runs on the Prairie Trail where he first found them. But now he was not running away from loneliness. He was running home to the family he never realized he was looking for, until he found them collapsed on a dusty path, needing someone to carry them home.